Okay, Wesley, so I'm just going to open your latest project here that you submitted. And your images aren't showing up here because they're not in your images folder. You need to make sure all of those are copied over. Okay, so the first thing we want to do, and I do notice that you have some of the shells done, but they weren't done correctly. Like right here, we want our UVs to be split along a seam. So we want to go in this middle seam. And underneath, same way, we want the front and back split and the side split. Okay, so first thing we want to do is merge our object. So we'll go to Mesh, Combine to make it one object. And then in the front view, go ahead and close that. In the front view, go to Vertex Mode and select all of the middle vertices without getting any others, just the middle ones along that edge. And then we'll go to Edit Mesh and Merge, and that'll give us one object. So now we want to select our object. Let's take a look at our outliner window here. Oops, wrong one. Outliner. And just go ahead and name this. And now we want to delete its history. So if you look over here, you can see all of these different things that you've done. If you right click that arrow, it'll show you all of these. So we're just going to get rid of all of that. So we're going to go to Edit, Delete All by Type, History. That'll just leave our main character tabs. These others we can delete. Just leaving us with our solid character, our one texture that we will attach our texture to, which you did here, but it's not included, so it's still looking for it on your desktop. Okay, so now we'll open our UV editor, go to UV shell, and you see that it just duplicated your shells, which is a good thing. So what we want to do is create our UVs from the front view. So I'm going to select both of those UVs, and I want to go to face mode here because I want to take some of these faces out. We want to give your shirt a little collar. So okay, so once you have all those front faces selected, we'll go to UV, and rather than do an automatic or one of the others, we're going to go to planar, which just shoot it straight from the front. So now if we zoom out, move that, you can see that's just the front of the face. So we're going to do the same thing with the back. Go to UV shell, select the shell, and go to face mode again. Take out these bottom ones, and we'll do the UV planar. Just move it up out of the way until we're ready to scale everything down, because once we get everything done, everything has to be scaled down to fit inside of this box. Okay, so now we'll just move on to the shirt here, and we'll go back to the UV shell, and I'm just going to go to the front view. I'm going to select all of the shells I can see in the front, and you can already see you're going to have some overlapping on the back right here and on this side. So we want it to cut all of those along that seam. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and select these two bottom ones. We'll start there. I'll just move them out of the way. Now I'll just select them one at a time, and I'm going to flip one of them. So under polygons, go to flip, and then you can see that you have two different shells there. And like I said, we want to split it on that seam, so we'll go to edge mode, select there, and that'll show us over here where it is. So we're going to select all of these edges, And we'll do the same on this side. And then with the shift key down, right click and cut UVs. So now if you go to shell, you can see that we have separate shells and they're split along that seam that we want. Just like that. So now we want to do the same with these pieces. So I'll select them both, move them over here where we can work with them. Just select one at a time, flip one. Alright, so find our edges we want to cut. So we'll go right click and go to edge, and we'll start there. So we just want to select all of these edges and the same on the other side. With the shift key down, right click, then cut UVs. Just check to make sure you got a good cut and the shells are separated. And I think, yes, the top also needs to bind. So we'll select both of them, move them over here out of the way a little, select one and flip it. Alright, so now we want to cut it along this edge, right down the middle. So we'll select edge to see where we are. Make sure we get all of the edges selected, and we'll do the same on the other side. And you can see our edges are selected. Shift key held down, right click, cut UVs, just to make sure you got a good shell. And we did. So now what we can do is select all of the pieces for the front. Here's where we go to the front view, and we should have one more. So we have just the front edge, and here we're gonna add those pieces in that we took off of the head. So we'll go right click, face, oops, I don't want to do that, face, okay, let's restart this. Okay, so now I'll right click, face, select these extra faces that we took off. And then we'll do a UV and planar, and you can see that gives us our shared shape. So what I want to do here in the front view, I just want to scale this down to where it's the width of his, about the width of his body, and that'll give us our good shape. Now W key to move, and we'll just move this out of the way for now. So there's the front of our shirt. So we're going to do the same thing with the back. Go to shell, select as much of it as we can. So everything's looking good. We just want the faces on this. Oops. So let's cut along that seam. We'll worry about these inside ones here later, I'll show you. So we're going to go to face mode now to add these. Well, actually we don't have to, so they're separate shells, so we can just add them to our selection. Okay, so now we have them all selected. We'll do the same thing. Go to UV, planar, and then back in the front view, we'll scale this down to about the width of his body. W key to move our shell. And then we have the back of our shirt. So we have the front. Uh-oh. Front, back, back, and the front. So we're just going to keep doing that all the way down. So we're going to have to split these again. So I'm just going to move them out of the way. Select one, flip it, and again we want to cut it down that middle seam, so go to edge mode, double click the end edge, shift key down, right click, cut UVs, go to shell to make sure they cut, which they did, so that one's good. Now I know there was some here in the middle. Yeah, these here. So we'll move these. Oops. Over so you can have some space to work with. We'll select one and flip it. Okay, so we want to split this along that central edge, so right through there. So we'll go to edge mode, select our starting edge so we can see where we're at. So we want to select this edge, and this edge. Shift click, shift right click, and cut UVs. And that should give us separate shells. Alright, so check these and make sure they're, no, okay, so we need to select and cut both of those. Oh, they're different. Okay, there they are. So we'll move these over. Select one and flip it. Okay, so we want to cut that along that central line, so we'll go to edge mode, select our edge, you can see as we select them that does over there, so we want to do the same on this piece. Oops. Make sure you get all of those in. So hold the shift key down, right click and cut UVs. Right click the shell, make sure they cut, and they are. So now again, in the front view, we're just going to select all of the shells that we can see in the front view. So we'll do just like that. Just checking the front to make sure that it's all along the central line, and it is. Now we can do a UV planer. Just use the W key and move these up out of the way. So there we have the front of the shorts. So just do the same thing with the back. Select all the shells, their faces. And everything's on that edge. And now we can go to UV planer and create the back of the shorts. Okay, so you've got the leg UVs done, looks like, so I'm just going to move them over here. And select one and flip it. That's pretty good because, I mean, as long as those are going to be one solid color, that would be okay. Otherwise, you'd want to split it up, but you probably want to make them like socks or something. So all I'm going to do is just scale it up to match everything else we've already done. So that'd be about the size. So there you have the front, your legs, and the front of the shirt, and the front of the face, all in separate shells. So now whatever you paint on those shells is what's going to show up on those pieces. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll show you the smaller pieces here. They're already their own individual shells. Your hands are also good. Let's just start with the hands. So we'll select all of the shells for the hand. Actually, let's just select them all. And then we're going to move them. Let's put them up by the arm so we get a kind of a good feel for the size. And again, I'm just going to scale them up to match everything else right now. Okay, so now we're going to select them one at a time and flip one of them. And just kind of move it. And same here. So now you have the tops and bottoms of your hands separate also. Alright, so now these smaller shells up here, like this, select both of them. And those are part of the shirt, so we're just going to leave them together like that. I'm just going to move it up here by the arm piece and just kind of scale it up to match. So R, scale it up about the size of the armhole, just like that. And the same with this piece. I'm just going to move it up by the shirt. And I'm going to select one and flip it. And then we'll just move it like so. Then I'll select them both, scale it up a little. And you can even do like that to make it match the shirt more. And we'll just move it up here by the other cuff. Okay, so there's our full shirt all in one area that we could paint. So eventually we're going to scale all of this stuff down. So really the only thing we have this shell. That goes around your boot area. So we can go ahead and select those. And we're going to move them out of the way. Get all those pieces together. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go into the side view. Let's just drag. I want to do faces. And I'm just going to redo the boot. I don't want to select the face that we already pulled out of the way, so just make sure you get those bottom faces. And then I'm going to do a UV, and then we'll do an automatic again. And we'll just move all these pieces together. Well, maybe let's see how we got this here. Let's do this way. I'm going to do the front half of the boot along the edge, like that. I don't want those. Okay, so we'll just make it easy and we'll do this and do a UV. Let's try some different ones to see. So now that doesn't look too bad, so because it's got our full boot in there. So we just want to scale it down to make it look more like our boots. And now what we can try to do is we can right click, go to tool, and try to do a optimize or an unfold. Let's see what unfold is gonna. Yeah, see, I thought it might do that, so we'll just leave them like that. Q to quit. Go to shell. So there we have our full boot. As long as it's gonna be one color, that's not gonna matter. Then you have the separate shell for the interior part. So we'll just move these. Grab both of those. I'll move them over by our boots. Maybe scale it down just a little. And maybe scale our boots up a little. So we just want to try to keep everything together. So now we have, what is this? Okay, so there's our pant rings. We'll just move that over by the shorts. Maybe scale it up a little. And then you have the ears. We'll move them up by the head. I'm going to scale them up to match, like so. And then we'll select one and flip it. And just move it. Okay. So now all of our pieces are completely cut to pieces. So now I'm just going to select it all. And I'm just going to start scaling it down. And start moving it all to try to fit in this area. So I'll scale down a little more. Okay, so now we can start moving pieces around. So let's just grab all of those. So we'll get everything that's going to be painted the same color close together. The head and ears will be the same so they can stay close. So I'm just going to fit everything on the screen. Scale it down. This should be the socks, all of the head, all of the shirt, hands, shorts. So once you get everything scaled in to fit, you might want to move these around a little bit so you have a little more room to paint. Just give yourself room. So now when you export, it will draw this image on there. So when whatever you paint over these lines is what's going to show up on the back of your shirt, and vice versa. So if you just want your shirt one solid color, you can just paint a solid color over that area. So suppose you want a picture on the front, you could paint a little picture on the front of that area. Main thing is these pieces here are the exterior, like the neckline and the underneath. You pretty much just want them to be the solid color that goes with the rest of the shirt. The hands, the head, and the ears, we could put them all close together because we don't want them all to be pretty much the same color. So I'm just going to move these around. Bring the hands down here. Because they're all going to be a flesh color. So that'll give us a little more room here. Scale these back up a little. Your leg area, possibly socks, probably just be white. So if you did like a pair of socks, you could do white and then just do like stripes across there if you wanted to. The boots, probably all one solid color. We can get them closer together. So once you get it all situated where everything's going to be, all the pieces, then you're going to do the polygon, the UV snapshot. It defaults to 256. I like to put mine to 512 just to give me a bigger area to paint. And right here you want, so yeah, change this to 512. You could even make it bigger if you wanted to. 512 is plenty. Right here is where you want to change it and do it as a JPEG. You can do it as a JPEG or a PNG. I like the JPEG because once you take it into Photoshop, you can inverse the image and change the black to white. So just hit OK. Oh. And select our object and do our UV snapshot. So 512, 512, JPEG, and OK. So now, if I go into your project, let's find it. In our images folder, we'll have our UV snapshot. So in Photoshop, what you can do is you can inverse this image and it'll change everything black to white and white to black, vice versa, making it a nice line drawing. And then you're just going to paint over those lines the colors that you want your material to be. Hopefully that helps. I'll give you till midnight Saturday. That's as long as I can give. Final grades will be submitted on Sunday. Good luck. Email me if you have any questions. I'm going to save this scene. Save scene as. And I'm just going to change it to texture mapped. final.